Hey guys. So I was gonna do a just chatting last night, but I ended up having a talk with another friend, and it just got so late, and I got so tired. So I decided to try to bring it up today because it was just on my mind. I had another friend, message me out of the blue after I was working the other day, and he asked me. He said, okay, the title of this is not like the exact question he asked me, but it's more like, let's just say I like this girl and she likes me. Uh, and she tells me that she doesn't want to date. And this kid asked her out. He said this girl doesn't want to date me because we have like an age gap. And she told me that she went out to the mall with her friends, like a bunch of other guy friends, and she starts kissing them. Or they start like kissing each other. They start like, she kisses them on the cheek or whatever. And then these other dudes are just like randomly kissing each other because I don't know, probably young and stupid. And his question to me was, is it okay for me to be mad or sad, or should I just leave it be? And like as I read that text message, I had to like I wanted to give him a short answer, like, yes, of course you fucking can. Like, but I needed to explain why and how. So I called him and I got a little more context on the situation, like if it was okay to talk about it. And so it's basically like I had to ask, does is she aware that you like her? And like, yes, because they talked about it before, and he asked her out, and she also like apparently said that she had feelings for him, but she was not willing to date because of like this 2-year age difference. And my friend, he's really young. But just because of that reason, I mean, there's like no right or wrong way. Like everyone can have their own opinion on like, who to like, 2-year age difference. Sure, that's okay. But I'm someone who also agrees that, age doesn't really matter. Like, if it works out, it works out. If you guys want it to work out, that's fine. And it's also okay if one person is just uncomfortable with like the age gap. That's cool. So I explained to him, yeah, that's okay. But you guys are aware that you guys like each other, right? And so that was a fact. And so I explained to him that, well, I had to ask him, like, why is she even telling you in the first place? How did you know that this girl went to the mall with like some people and that like she was kissing people? And he told me, well, it's because she just told me. She messaged me. She's like, I wish you could be here, or I wish that you, like, this could have been you. Like, if you were here, this would have happened. This happened. And that's what got me so angry. I was so frustrated to have to hear that. And that's when I told them, okay, so your question was, do you have the right to be sad or mad, or should you just leave it be? And the answer is, yeah, absolutely, you can be fucking mad because she knows how you feel about her. Like, and granted, like, these are like really young kids, teenagers even. But I feel like that doesn't excuse anyone from being an asshole, right? Like I can tell that this is obviously like eating my friend inside. It's hurting him so bad. Like, I've had an experience with this before, and I'll probably get into that in a bit, but like, I had to help him understand why it's okay to be angry and sad. Like, yeah, man, of course you can be fucking angry. Of course you can be fucking sad. You know why? It's because You guys already talked about your feelings about each other. So since she's aware that you like her, she's kind of rubbing it in your face like, hey, this could have been you. You could have been here, you should have been here. So this is like a, I guess, a long distance kind of thing. Or maybe, I mean, it's not really a thing, but like, they met online and they talk with each other like very often. That's context I was getting. And so it's just so messed up that like some girl would like tell you that knowing that this person likes you. Like, how would you feel if you like someone and they knew you like them, like you guys had feelings for each other or have feelings for each other, and then that person goes out and starts saying, oh, you know what, I can kiss anyone who I want, I can date anyone that I want. Yeah, sure, but if someone does that knowing that you have feelings for them, like they're just hurting you for fun, like they're actually being an asshole, right? So I told him, yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. And like whether she knows it or not, you just asking me just tells me that you're not sure if it's like if you have the right to feel angry or sad. And I'm telling him that you have every right to be angry or sad, because that's like you have to learn how to respect yourself first before you can even think about like, am I going to offend this person if I'm angry? Like, no, that's not the priority. The priority is you first. You have to put your feelings first. Like, I want to say in terms of any kind of relationship, like whether it's family or friends, or even when it comes to lovers, like that's not to say that you're being selfish, because there's a difference between being selfish and then worrying about how you feel, like feeling good for yourself or putting yourself first is, I feel like the most accurate way I can put it. Because if you can't put yourself first, if you can't worry about your own feelings first, then you're gonna end up like letting people just walk all over you. And that's what hurt me. Like he's a young kid, and I don't want anything like that to happen to him. So I mean, I was just genuinely happy that he even brought this up in the first place, because like for me personally, growing up, it was really hard for me to even talk about those kinds of things to anybody. Actually, I don't even think I brought up those kinds of problems to anybody, because I felt like when I explained those kind of things to my mom or my friends, they just kind of like shrugged it off. Like, oh, well, that shit happens. Just deal with it. Just get over it. And that's so messed up to say too, in my opinion, but that's like a talk for another time. And so the reason why it's okay to be angry is just because you're choosing to love yourself and you're choosing to respect yourself. You have to be your own best friend in those kind of situations. And that's like really hard to understand when no one really talks about that with you, growing up. Like, it's important to be mindful, to be aware of how you feel when these kind of things happen. And then it's also a thing of like thinking about what you can and cannot control. So this is like a situation, one of many, where like, you can never control what someone else is like doing or saying. You can't decide that for them. And as like when it comes to relationships, as much as you want this other person to like treat you a certain way, like you can't control that. And that's a good thing, because when you think about it that way, you can also kind of assume, like you can judge that, okay, since they're treating me this way, that's their choice. Like they are actively deciding to do this. And why that's important in this situation is because then you can kind of determine like, okay, if this person knows how I feel about her and she's telling me this, you can sort of like assume that she's being an asshole to you. And because of that judgment, you can like decide then and there what you can do. So that is something that's in your control. You have control over your judgment, your actions, what you decide to do. And also, to take a step back, it's not to say that it's right to make assumptions. You want to make sure first before you make a decision. Sorry. So I should have said that first. You want to, like, I explained to him, like, if you really want to know how she felt, and like, if you want to know why she did what she did, why she said what she said, it's okay to ask her. And that's a hard thing to do, confrontation. So I told him, because he's young, I said, it's okay if you don't want to confront her. That's fine. But as long as you're aware that maybe she did this on purpose, like, you totally have the right to just not talk to her anymore if you can manage that. Because if he kept talking to her, like, from here on out, like, even as friends, it's gonna be painful for him. And he told me too, yeah, like, it would be awkward, it would be painful. Of course it would. It's because you like this person, and this person liked you. Like, you guys had some kind of connection, but for some reason, like, she decided it couldn't be possible. And that's fine. That's fine if she decides that. So, sorry, I had a brain fart. So yeah, he doesn't have to make that kind of confrontation. But I said, if you do decide to ask her, at least you'll have an answer. At least you'll actually know what she was thinking and how she was feeling. Like, she could say, like, oh, well, I didn't think about it that way. Like, she could probably end up saying something like, well, I have the right to do that. Well, yeah, sure you do. But you're hurting my feelings because you know that I like you. And I know that you like me, or at least you said you did. So are you just playing with my feelings? Like, you see what I mean? Like, you'll never know that unless you find that courage to ask. Like, confrontation is a very scary thing, but it's, in my opinion, something that is very necessary. But also, like, it takes a lot of baby steps to be able to even decide to want to, like, make that confrontation. So, like, I was trying to explain, and I don't think I explained it effectively to him. I was trying to say, like, it's okay. Like I said, it's okay if you don't make that confrontation, because, like, it actually takes a lot of understanding yourself in, like, discovering that kind of bravery and confidence in yourself to, like, want answers. I feel like that's a journey that everyone has to take on their own when it comes to learning about self-confidence and self-love and self-respect. All of that is, like, so closely intertwined with each other that it makes all the difference in the world. I feel like all the questions people may have when it comes to these kind of things is all tied to, like, having self-confidence. And I know that's, like, the biggest struggle everyone has in the world. So, and then he was telling me that he was thinking about, like, asking her and confronting her. And, like, what he does after that is also, like, it can get a little complicated. But I told him, at least if you ask her, you'll have an answer, and then you can decide what to do from there. And I think that's better. Like, just knowing is much better than not knowing. It's way better than making assumptions of, like, what ifs. Like, well, what if she said this because of this? Or what if she didn't know and, she just did it anyway? Like, what if she's innocent? Like, all that, I was gonna say unclarity, that's not a word. But all those questions, like, you'll never really know. And you might as well not worry about it, because, like, you're never gonna get any real answers unless you ask. Like, for me, I'm very, I wasn't always direct, but I've learned over time in these past few years that it's life-changing when you can learn how to stand up for yourself and stand up for what you believe in. having that kind of bravery, even though you're afraid, like learning to do that is it's just so helpful. And I'm making this Just Chat, this vlog, in hopes that like it can help other people who may struggle like with situations like these. It's like, because it's okay, it's perfectly okay to be angry and sad in those scenarios. And why? It's because like you're a human being too, and you deserve to be happy. Like, everyone deserves to be happy. And let's say in this scenario, let's say that girl is innocent in some way. Maybe she did it and just like did it as an accident, you wouldn't know unless you actually found out yourself. And then, like, if she owns up to that, like if she admits that she's wrong, then that's great. That's like better for the both of them, like for their friendly relationship. Like it could still potentially grow to be better, like if they have that conversation, you know what I mean? So like, by all means, like if a relationship with someone can still get better in like another way, like if you guys can't be lovers but you can be friends instead, I feel like that's still like very powerful. But that's also something that you can't control, because when it comes to relationships, it goes both ways. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, but like it goes both ways, because you can only control what you can only go so far, but you can't go all the way for the other person. It doesn't work that way, because if you do that, you're doing way too much. So like when it comes to like friendships or like relationships, like relationships, like the other person has to meet you halfway. They have to put in their work for that relationship to work, because that's what it is. It takes two. Sometimes it takes more than that. But I mean, like, when it comes to one-on-ones, like you should, sorry, I probably shouldn't say should, but like, in my experience, it's never good to overextend yourself and go like, so let's say this person is like this far, right? You don't want to go like this much more distance or even over that just to make something work, because it's not fair. I mean, maybe there could be some arguments on that, but like in my experience, it's worth it. It's always worth it when you have someone meet you that halfway, because that means that person is worth it. Like that person cares about you. That person cares about your feelings, and that person doesn't want to hurt you. And I've met so many people in my life that are like right here, okay? And me, like I'm just really nice. And I'm like, growing up, I was kind of I guess maybe I still kind of am, like a people pleaser. And I'm trying to get over that, like baby steps every single day. So I'm trying to tell those people out there that like, if you're like that, if you're like me, where you try to like go that extra distance because you can, just because it's like no effort to you, just because like you're that nice, like when it feels that normal to like just make that bridge on your own, it's not healthy for you. It's not good for you, because that person usually knows that you are, or even if they don't know, like they're still in a way taking advantage of you. And that's what's so hard for like nice people. I should say like quote unquote nice people, but it's more like the people that just aren't aware, and they just genuinely like want something good out of a relationship. Like you just genuinely want friendship, and you want everyone to be happy. That's fine. But it's also really, really great when you also think about you being happy. Like putting yourself first, because that's something I feel like, I don't want to say it's just like nowadays, but like I feel like just society in general throughout many generations, people just never really took the time to think about their own happiness. It's easier to put someone first before yourself, because it makes you feel happy, right? I mean, I can say that for me. Like, it's really easy for me to like set aside my time to try to help someone, to try to lift someone up in any way that I can. Like, I can't fix anyone's problems, but I can at least better guide them through my failures, through my experiences. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my experiences. I'm not talking about like solutions. Exactly, not really exactly. Because in at the end of the day, I'm not the one who's fixing these problems for these people. They're the ones deciding to do that. They're the ones actually making it happen. Like like the reason why I'm doing these vlogs on my streams now is because um well, I mean, the reason why I'm doing these vlogs period is because I've met so many people along the way in my life. Like throughout my journey, I've just like crossed paths with people, you know? And we would have these talks. And they'd be amazing talks. Those are like the most memorable talks in my entire life. Like they're literally ones that I cannot forget. They just stay with me and it makes me feel so good about myself because like that's a moment where I can genuinely think and feel and say like, wow, I've I've helped someone just because we talked about something. And like those experiences accumulating over time just made me have this internal feeling like, you know, if I'm able to help someone just through like my words, just through my experiences, like of course I'm going to do that, right? And like this kid that I'm talking about, like we've known each other for a long time. I've seen him grow up a lot. I'm really proud of where he's come. And it also makes me feel a little bad because like I mean I'm comparing his life with mine. And I in the beginning I couldn't really understand why I would do that, but like it's because my upbringing was so different that like I envy a lot of the situation that he's in. I don't know if I worded that correctly, but like he's fortunate in a lot of ways, but I also recognize later on that he's also like kind of this might sound a little weird, but like he also has his own unfortunate circumstances that's unique to his situation. So it's like unfair for me to compare like how I grew up to how he is growing up. But what makes me even happier is that he's able to take what I'm telling him into like his active life. Like it's things I'm saying is actually helping him out, and that makes me really happy. I texted him like at the end of that, like I called him. I said, you know, I'm actually really proud of you for even asking me this question because like it like for me back then, like I'm comparing again, for me it was so hard for me to even open up to anybody. Um just because I was very shy and introverted, I felt like I kept a lot to myself and I was bullied. So I had like a single mom and like my father left when I was 3. So like me having a conversation with my mom was like non-existent, at least not on an emotional level. So when I grew up, it was just really hard in general for me to share these kinds of things. So I was proud of him, my friend, when he asked me like, do I have the right to be angry or sad when this happens? I'm like, wow, that first of all, good job on you for even asking that. I feel like that takes a lot of courage on your own to even want to feel that. Because for me, like I would internalize everything like, oh, this happened because it's my fault. Like she knows she likes me and she knows I'm sorry. She knows I like her and okay, so they like each other, right? And like I kind of lost train of thought, but like oh yeah, so like me comparing my old self to his situation now, like if his situation happened to me back then, and that is like if she knew that I liked her and I liked her, yeah, so like we know we like each other. Oh yeah, so like if that unfortunate circumstance happened where she told me, oh yeah, like I went to the mall, I was kissing all these guys and I wish you were here, this could have been you. Like if that happened to me, I would automatically assume that that's my fault. Like wow, I am not good enough. rather than asking why is she telling me this, you know? Like, it's okay to ask those questions, like, and so he's the one who asked me, right, like, is it okay for me, do I have the right to be mad or sad, or should I just leave it be? Should I just, you know, ignore that? Like, no, you have every fucking right to be angry or sad, because you both have already had that conversation. You both acknowledge that you liked each other, and the only reason why it didn't work out is because she's the one who decided that there was an age gap. And that's fine, that's like completely fine, like I said. But like, if that were me, like, I would have beaten myself up, and I'm so glad that he didn't do that. That takes a lot of understanding yourself, like a degree of self-love and self-respect to be able to make that kind of decision. And that's what I wanted to point out. Like, it takes a lot to even get to that point of being able to ask yourself, like, is it okay for me to feel this way? And that's like I guess that's a different sort of topic. But yes, of course, like, putting yourself first and thinking about the way you feel, like, yes, that is absolutely okay. Because you don't want people to walk over you. Like, you have to learn how to respect yourself. You have to learn how to let yourself feel these things, because you deserve to be happy, is basically what I'm trying to say. And kind of going into my past on that matter, like, it reminded me of a situation where I liked this girl too, like back at an arcade, way back when, in my high school days. And I liked her, you know, and I kind of made it apparent that I did, even though we didn't exactly have that conversation. So it's kind of, is it convoluted is the right word? But like, she also said that she liked me, but we never got to that point of like actually dating. And hello, Smeeze. I'm gonna read this. It's a rather strange circumstance you describe. If anything, the telling you about it sounds like an act designed to make him jealous. Perhaps out of an act to see your feelings for her were genuine from her own insecurities. However, you just mentioned about an age difference or something, so I think I missed that. Yeah, so since you just came in, Smeeze, I'll explain it from the beginning, so you don't have to like go all the way back to the vlog. So basically, my friend, he's a very young kid, right? He texted me out of the blue the other day when I was at work, and he said, "Hey, I wanted to ask for your opinion. Like, let's say this girl likes me, and I like her, and she tells me that she's at this mall kissing other guys, and like they're also kissing each other." And his question to me was, do I have the right to be mad or sad about it? Or should I just ignore it? Should I just leave it be? And so I kind of had to get more context on the situation. Like, I wanted to tell him, okay, short answer, yes, you absolutely have every right. But is she aware of how you feel, right? And he said, yes. He explained to me, yeah, like, I confessed to her. I asked her out, or I asked her if she wanted to date. And she said she had feelings for me too, apparently. And she's like, I'm saying she's talking to like my friend, the kid, right? And she said, you know, I actually don't want to date because there's an age difference between us, like a 2-year age gap. And that's fine. Like, me personally, I don't think there's any problem with age gaps. But if that's her decision, that's cool. And then, so after the fact, like after she said, no, like, I'm not okay with dating, she tells him apparently that she is at the mall. She's like kissing these other guys, and these other guys are like kissing each other. It's like this weird like kissing circle. Like, I don't know. That's why I said like they're kids, like some stupid shit kids do, in my opinion, right? And so I asked him, like, so how did you know that they were like doing this kissing circle? Like, were you there, or did she like tell you? And he said, no, like, we know each other from Discord, and we play games a lot together. So like, I think it's a distance kind of thing. So he told me that she told him that situation. Like, yeah, she told me that she was at the mall and they were doing that. And she said she wished that he was there, or that he should have been there. He could have been there. Like, that could have been him. Like, it wasn't very clear, but that was like the vibe that I was getting. And so if that were the case, I was telling him, okay, yes, of course you have every right to be mad or sad in that situation because she knows how you feel. And that's fucked up. Like that's so messed up, right? But like it's it's mind boggling for him to like kind of wonder if he had the right to be mad or sad. And it's understandable because he's such a like he's at such a young age. So I had to explain to him like the reason why you're probably wondering like if you had the right to is because like you guys weren't in a relationship, like you guys actually weren't dating, and that's fair. It's good that you're aware of that. But if you're wondering why, like if he's wondering why to be angry or sad, it's probably because he just doesn't have the answer. like like that's very confusing, right? Like if you like someone and you like and she told you like she liked you back, and then she goes up and tells you and like, wow, this could have been you, right? That's kind of like rubbing it in your face. And I felt like that's what she was doing to him, and that made me so angry. Like, dude, that's fucked up. And so like I was trying to explain to him, you know, if she is aware of how you feel, then you could naturally assume that like she's just rubbing it in your face, but maybe that's not the case. Again, it's because I assume like they're kids and they're just so young. Maybe she really is unaware. But to save him that trouble, I said, you know, if you really want to be sure, and if you don't want to like think about the what ifs, because I don't think that's great at all. Like you don't want to have those kind of assumptions, right? Um, if you're up to it, you can just ask her, right? Because that's how you get the answer. It's like you can ask her, hey, like, why did you tell me this when you didn't even want to be together? Like, you're telling me this knowing that I have feelings for you. So I'm encouraging him. I'm encouraging him to be very clear about his feelings if he can. Like, because once you have that answer, like, depending on what she tells you, that's when you can decide whether or not like it's worth it to keep up this friendship. Because he told me that it would be so awkward if they were to hang out online again, like after that happened. It's like, yeah, that's perfectly normal because you have feelings for her, you know, like that's fine. And then you're saying, okay, then yeah, if she said if she had said no to dating, then that was very appropriate. He could have only been there if he'd been invited, presumably by her. Even in the most optimistic scenario, her seeing him as close friend, confidant, it's still weird. Yes, it's very weird. It's actually like, yeah, that situation is weird. But to me, I saw it as like a personal attack because it resonated with me from like something that happened in my past. But I didn't want to like project my situation onto his, so I had to separate that feeling from him and explain to him like, you know, it's easier for you to understand if you just ask her, and she'll give you an answer. She might not give you the answer that you want, but at least you'll know if it was intentional. Like you can kind of tell. I mean, it really depends on her answer, but like I was telling him, the reason why it's okay for you to be angry or sad in this scenario is because, like, first of all, you can only control what you can control. And I helped him understand this, like, with other talks. So, like, you know, we can't control other people. We can't control, like, how they're going to feel or what they're going to say. We can't control those kind of situations. So I was trying to help him understand that, you know, putting yourself first in this situation is what you should be doing. And that it's different from being selfish, because sometimes like we naturally feel like, oh, it's too selfish for me to feel like I should be mad. Like it's not that you have to yell at this person because like, hey, you offended me, like you hurt my feelings. Like I'm not telling him that he should do that or he has to do that, because that's totally not the scenario. But he has the right to be angry for feeling like he has feelings for her. It's okay for him to feel that way, like to accept his feelings. That's what I'm trying to help him understand, because like that's what I call self-respect, self-love. And like for me as a kid, like that was something I totally lacked. I didn't have any understanding or concept of that. So I'm really proud of him for even asking me in the first place, because he's curious about these things too. So helping them understand that, you know, it's okay to put yourself first and think about yourself in these situations because it's fair for you. And then like I was also explaining, I think this is where you might have come in, Smeeze, where like when it comes to any kind of relationship, like you one person could be like this way, right? And you could be all the way over here when it comes to like trying to make this relationship work. When in reality, like relationships, in my opinion, they must meet halfway. Absolutely, because if you're like me or my friend, for example, like where you're just so nice and you feel like you have to fill in that gap just to have that relationship, like I feel like that's overextending yourself and it's too much. And there are a lot of people out there, especially ones that I've met, that take advantage of nice people. And it's not exactly like that person's fault either. Like some people are just naturally inclined to like let people go all the way. But it's also like in a way the nice person's fault for kind of going all the way too. But it's I want to say it's just normal and natural because of like the way of everyone's upbringing. Like we all grow up in different ways, we all have different beliefs. That's just some things like that are bound to happen is what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to help those kinds of people understand that when you're aware that you're overextending, like you can become aware of that. And I want to let them know that it's good for you, it's good for those kinds of people to not overextend yourself for your sake. Like, yeah. Oh, sorry, you said something. Definitely, that would be exhausting long term. Absolutely. Like I have grown up overextending myself, thinking like this is how a relationship should be. Like I should be the one absolutely putting in the effort to do that. But that's not the case. Like it takes two in a relationship, right? Like absolutely you both have to make it work out. You can't just like have one person doing it and then when that becomes exhausting and then you collapse and then they start blaming you, it's like why, how? Because you're putting in all this work, right? But like the thing in that kind of vague scenario is it comes down to communication. And that's also something I was trying to make aware for my friend. It's like, you know, what's important in any sort of relationship, my friend, is that you just need to practice learning how to communicate a bit. That's all. And again, like this isn't his fault. I assured him like this isn't your fault. And maybe it's not her fault either. Like you won't actually know until you have that conversation with her. That's why it depends on what she says to you, where you can actually decide like what to do from there. Because like if they do decide to become friends again, I mean they're still friends regardless, but like with some awkward relationships, sometimes people just break apart and that's completely normal too. What I wish I told them yesterday is that, you know, it's okay if it also doesn't work out. Like some people just kind of naturally drift apart, or maybe that's kind of messed up for me to say to a kid, I don't know, but like that's how it is in my opinion. So what ages are we talking, him and her? So if it's I was trying to be vague about it because I don't know if he watches my streams, so I don't know if he's okay with me talking about it, but I think it should be okay. So he's 13. He's a very tall 13-year-old. He's like taller than me, and she's like 15. And that's why I feel like those kissing circles is like very ridiculous and stupid. Because like if you think about it, like if adults were doing it, who the fuck does that? Who goes to a mall and's like, haha, let's kiss, hey buddy, hey, let's do it. Like that's just dumb. I mean, that situation alone, like the whole kissing circle, doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that she told him that they were doing that and she was also kissing them. Like even if it was just the cheek, it's like, yeah, that's nothing, sure. And yeah, they're not dating, but like if she was aware that he liked her, it's kind of like she's rubbing it in his face, and that's just not nice. That's not nice. And yeah, like I agree with her. Like this is also coming from my friend's mouth because, you know, I only know the story from him. She did say apparently that she has the right to date or kiss anyone she wants. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Anyone has that right. My friend has that right too, of course. But you can't use that as an excuse to like be an asshole to someone. Like, hey, this could have been you, man. I could have been kissing you right now. That's not what she said, but that's like kind of the impression you get, right? It's like, hey, this could have been you, haha, but I'm kissing these guys. How do you feel now? That's like essentially what she's doing. But like I said, that might not be the intention. Yeah, she's just a dumb kid, proud of what happened and wanted to share it with a friend and not realizing the implications. Yes. That is exactly those are exactly my thoughts. I agree. And like I've been in that situation, I feel like one too many times that I was really hiding. I was trying to hold back my anger when I was telling him like eight I almost said his name. But I was like, my friend, um like I don't want you to be in these scenarios. He's in a sense like a family member because like we've known each other for so long and I care. So I was like, yeah, I'm so proud that you talked to me about this situation because I don't want you to get hurt, man. But I had to like explain it in a way where it's not so buddy buddy and had to give him some more facts on it. Like it's important to learn how to respect yourself. And I know that's very hard. And that's what I was also getting at earlier. Like a lot of people aren't conditioned to think about themselves first. We usually prioritize other people's happiness before our own, even when it comes to like trying to date someone, which I find that is like very messed up and unhealthy. And it also normal because I don't know why. Our society now has kind of normalized not thinking about ourselves much. Maybe that's just me, but that's also how I grew up. Like when I grew up, I didn't really have any guidance. And I think when you walked in, I was saying stuff um, like my father left when I was 3, and then like growing up with a single mom who was working all the time, we never really had an emotional. I was gonna say we didn't have an emotional connection, but that's kind of wrong. It's more like we just never had those emotional talks, and so I felt like I withheld a lot of information growing up as a kid. So I was very introverted and shy when it came to talking about my feelings, and I didn't have too many friends. I had a handful of good friends, which is probably the norm. But I felt like we can never get to that level of deep talks, and I don't know if that's like relatable. But like I have so many different circles of friends who are like there are some circles of friends that are comfortable talking about certain things, and then another group of friends who are like not comfortable with that or comfortable talking about like other things. I don't know why. That's just how it is, at least in my experience. You say I discussed my next point recently with someone else. If we go into human evolution past, our bodies are designed to mature quickly. I see. In a sense, for a hunting/survival way, and for an age limit of 30 to 40 years max. I see. Emotions don't mature as fast. That makes sense. And this is becoming more of an issue. Oh, sorry, did I read that right? And this is becoming more of an issue in this modern society where demands on emotional maturity are getting younger and younger as our life expectancy grows too. Yeah. It also, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that. I didn't know like emotions didn't mature as fast. That kind of makes me feel a little bit better about myself. But knowing that and then seeing where our society is going right now, like, I mean, because like we have the internet now. I mean, I kind of grew up with dial-up back then, but like kind of seeing kids now and how they're approaching things, it's interesting. Like, sorry, I'm trying to carefully word the things that I say, but maybe I'll just say it anyway. It's like, well, I lost that train of thought, but it's amazing how like kids are much more aware of like things on the internet, like whether it's phrases and terms and stuff, and how they're getting more, what's the word? Disassociated? Maybe not disassociated. Well, the good thing is that I think a lot of the younger generation now are becoming more aware of how they feel faster compared to like my generation, where like I didn't really have that many YouTubers or like streamers to learn from. Which is funny that I say that because like for me personally, I didn't really have like a figure to look up to growing up. Like I didn't have that kind of guidance. I didn't have a direction in my life. So fast forward to like me a few years later, actually like maybe like 5, 6 years ago, I learned a lot of my self-confidence and all this stuff just like kind of just recently, and that was thanks to the internet basically. And the fact that the kids have that now like is amazing, and I feel like they might even be braver than I was as a kid. But that's also an unfair comparison. Like there's plenty of different people out there that had their own journeys and whatnot growing up how they did. But what you said is very interesting. This is becoming more of an issue in this modern society where demands on emotional maturity are getting younger and younger as our life expectancy grows. Yeah. Yeah, I think that definitely ties to, yeah, younger kids growing and maturing better nowadays. But I'm happy for that too. Like there's a part of me that's jealous, and I think that's natural. It's just because like maybe that makes me a boomer now because like I'm saying, oh, kids nowadays, they got this, they got that. I just sound like those elders back then. But that's great. I feel like I'm happy with the direction that the younger generation is going towards. And it also makes me worried because like I actually used to be heavily worried that the younger generation would be so reliant on technology nowadays. But it seems like there is a huge deal of us helping people make us aware that there is a healthy balance between like technology and then like real life. Actually, what's assuring to me, and I it's probably just me thinking this, but I feel like people aren't thinking in that direction of over relying on technology. People, I feel like, are finding like a natural balance of like, this content is good for me, so I'm just gonna like implement that in my life. At least those are the kind of people that I'm finding. I could be totally wrong about that. For perspective, I'm a school teacher. Oh, great. 11 to 18 years old. So I see the demands on teenagers daily, as well as all their dramas. I admire you for that. Like, being a teacher must be all kinds of tough. Like, I sort of had like dreams of being a teacher, like a teacher of some kind. But for me personally, maybe you can relate to this. Maybe you are afraid of this, and I want to ask you, like, were you ever afraid of becoming a teacher because you may not have been confident in like that one kid that may show up that you could not teach or could not like help behave in your class or something? Like that was my biggest fear in like becoming a school teacher, because like I felt like there's always like some kids that would disagree with you, and that's normal. But like me back then, like I was so unconfident in myself that I felt like I wouldn't have been able to properly direct a class if there was just one kid that disagreed with me. Like I would probably lose my shit, for example. Like I would be so angry in that moment when I know I shouldn't be. Like, have you ever had that fear? Has that and if you did, or if you didn't, like what's your approach on that? How do you keep your cool? And I felt like I kind of answered my own question. It's like maybe it just comes down to like learning how to keep your confidence, keep your cool, right? uh I only became a teacher at 35. I couldn't have done it in my 20s. I had a desk job for 11 years after university. Okay, cool. It took random redundancy to make me find this amazing career. That's amazing. It is my post 30 zero fucks given that makes it possible. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm happy you said that, because like it reminds me of like I used to hop lots of like random customer service jobs, and I don't want to say I didn't enjoy them. Actually, no, I hated them, but I enjoyed like the aspect of customer service for some reason. Excuse me. that was just like a part of me that I felt like felt right, because I came to like ask myself a question like, you know, what is it that I actually like to do in life? And I actually don't mind. I love helping people. That's what I wanted to say. And then back to what you said. So I was working at Best Buy, and then like I had all these worries too and all these concerns, and then I had an older coworker, and she was like, I guess she was like in mid 30s, right? She said, oh yeah, I was saying like how I was like reaching 29 or 28 or something. I was like so worried. And she's like, you know what? Once you get to your 30s, like you start to give less of a shit about things. And it's great. And like at that time, I didn't understand what she meant. And then like, so wow, literally lost track of how old I am. I, I'm 32. And I found that what she said is so true. What you said is so true. Like, you really do give less of a shit, and I always thought that was a concern. Like I thought that's something I needed to be worried about, because I'm like, well, if I give less of a shit, isn't that a bad thing? Because like, well, I mean, I don't know why, because, but that was like my initial thought. It's like, wouldn't that be a bad thing? And it's like, no. And I feel like you don't really realize this until you hit that age, but it's like, no, because all the things that you used to worry about, like they're so little and so petty. Like you're much better off not thinking about those things, not worrying about those things, like literally not giving a shit about those kind of little things anymore. Like it's amazing. So it makes sense. Like that's amazing that you were able to find that career because you made that realize, like you came to that realization, right? Thinking 24, 27. I see. I mean, that could be the age too. For me, like, I don't know. I felt like I grew up in a very different way. I was in a very chaotic state, in my opinion. Uh, like even getting to 29 and 30. Like right now, I feel like I recently kind of became a little bit more stable in my life in terms of career. I'm a real estate photographer, and I went to school for not for fine art, but I graduated like with a fine art degree. Um, but I studied to be like an animator, and like I made all these sorts of tangents and stuff because like I never really had any support, like both the emotional support and the guidance to like have a direction in my life to like do what I wanted to do. But also like I also had to pay my own bills, and so like that's why a huge part of that was me job hopping and customer service, and because like it was really difficult for me for some reason to find work related to like my field. And I was very fortunate enough to find work as a photographer. And it's funny because I didn't go to school as a photographer, so I fortunately learned a lot of that naturally on my own, thanks to like cosplay conventions. Like, sorry, I kind of made a tangent here, but um, like I got into photography because like one day, like in 2017 or 2018, I decided to go to a cosplay convention with my cousin. She convinced me to go. She convinced me to cosplay, and I had like all these insecurities about it because like I don't cosplay, and I was not confident in the way that I looked. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna fit this character. And somehow like that snowballed into something amazing, like a very amazing experience. What was amazing about it though for me was that I met all these like-minded people, like all these creative individuals that like I for somehow have not met growing up. And I was very grateful for that. Like I met a lot of photographers, and so I had like a beginner's DSLR, so I brought that to conventions every time I saw them again, and it made me happy because it kind of like bonded, and it made all these friends at these conventions, and I just took pictures for fun. And it was because of that, like that really pushed me to grow like as an artist, because I felt like that was something that stagnated in my life. I felt like, wow, my purpose was lost because I had to try to pay these bills, and I felt like I had to sacrifice my passion for that. But that totally wasn't the case. It was like all connected with like learning to love myself and all this stuff. But yeah, I'll talk about that another time. You said, oh yeah, you said the same thing. But yeah, like it was amazing coming this far and then ending up where I am. And then now kind of like rediscovering like my passions, because I've always had this thought, like during work, like all the jobs that I didn't like, while I was dreading it, I would always be thinking about, I really want to vlog or something. I really want to help people in some way. It's not like customer service wasn't doing that. It's just like this isn't the way that I wanted to like fulfill this feeling of mine, this passion. And maybe that could relate to you in some way. Maybe that's what got you to also decide that. Um, but it was like, I wish I could be doing something else in my life. And it took me a lot to get to that point because like I lacked confidence like at a huge portion of my life. I would say all the way up to like when I was 28 to 29. And it all changed because of like this strange relationship I had. I hit 40 in September. Congrats. Kind of hoping this less shits given attitude continues getting stronger. 30s have been amazing though. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. I keep hearing 30s are amazing. And it is, like, it's great so far. Like, I literally never thought I could have this confidence that I do now. And it's something that I wish it's something that we all wish we could have had growing up, right? And I feel like it will get stronger because like it all comes down to practicing it, right? And you're a teacher, so I'm assuming you practice this every day, especially since you're in front of people every day, it's in front of kids. It's like, yeah, like not only would you want to be confident, like you want to set an example, I imagine. And like actually I didn't think about this, but so I was gonna say like being like keeping that image strong for kids, like being strong for their sake, like keeping that image up. But thinking about that now, it kind of reminds me like, it's also okay to not be okay, and it's okay to teach kids that it's not, and that it's okay to not be okay. Like I guess I'm thinking about like off days teachers may have, and like, yeah, I don't know, for some reason that thought makes me feel more comfortable in like just being me, or even like you being you as a teacher in public. Like that's human. We're only human, and I think it's good and important to teach kids like, it's okay to be imperfect because we are imperfect. No one's perfect, right? I was bullied in school, been overweight since 14, 15. So yeah, I need a thick skin still. Kids are cruel. Kids are cruel. And I know what you mean. Like, I'm with you there. I was also bullied in school. And yeah, that sounds tough. Overweight since 14, 15. Like, I mean, I can't relate. I've been skinny all my life. I actually wish that I could gain weight. But to be bullied, like, and to feel like you need a thick skin, it reminds me of this talk I would always have with my mom. My mom would always tell me, you just need to grow a thick skin. And I'm a very sensitive person, so maybe like you can relate out to me on this. But like I always felt guilty because that's the way I was. That's the way I am, right? Like I'm sensitive, and I've always tried to change that part about myself my entire life. And that's also tied to like when something happens to me or when something bad happens, right? I would always blame it on myself because I felt like I wasn't competent enough, like because I didn't have that thick skin, that's my fault. But it's also unfair for me to think that, and I feel like it may be, well, okay, I can't really say for you, but like not having that thick skin is what I'm talking about. Like it made me realize at some point that, being sensitive is also a strength. So I had to realize, it took me a long time to realize that, it's also important for me to acknowledge my strengths and to kind of cultivate it and grow it in a way so that, in a sense, that is also a thick skin in itself. If that makes any sense. It's like a mindset of how you think about things. Like the way my mom thinks about things, like she thinks she has a really thick skin. And then like having talked with her kind of recently and then kind of understanding her better compared to back then, because like we don't talk, I feel like she actually doesn't have a thick skin, but maybe I'm completely wrong about that. I just think that she's more sensitive than she thinks she is, and she has a problem like talking about her feelings. Or maybe I have I'm thinking about it now, maybe I have the wrong understanding of what thick skin actually means. But the way I see it now, the way I interpret it is like it really just depends on how we handle ourselves in these situations that come by. Like, cause life just happens to us, right? It's anything can happen. So the way I learn how to deal with that, the way I learn to like have a sort of thick skin, not really, is to learn how to roll with these punches, like going with these roller coasters in life, right? How we actively decide and make choices in life, I guess, is what I got from my journey in life so far. It's like if a bully, like if there were another bully figure that were to come in front of me now, like, and give me the same vibes as someone back then, I feel much more confident handling it now because, like, I'm not afraid to have that conversation anymore, thanks to understanding myself better. And I feel like learning to understand myself better is closely tied to that whole confidence thing, like learning how to love and respect myself, kind of deal. Thick skin is weird. It seems to be more like armor. Some areas are well protected, but all armor has gaps and weaknesses. Yes, I agree. So the way I thought about that is very strange. So I like to think about things like as a game, like an RPG, because I grew up. I felt like I grew up learning all about life through video games because video games was not only my escape back then, but it was also like my go-to for like actually learning about how the world works, which is probably not like the ideal way, right? But like that's how I grew up. Like, so when you say that, it made me think, maybe I'm just not the type of character to have that kind of armor. Like maybe I'm just not suited for that. Even though like it could still be important for me, like if I can equip that, that would be great. At least that was my thought. And what helped me understand it better in terms of like having thick skin and that kind of armor was that, maybe there is a way for me, like as a let's say I'm a healer class or like an assassin class that's like very very squishy, very weak. Maybe there's a way for me to have like a sort of thick skin, like as a passive skill. Maybe it won't be as strong as like a tank, but at least it could be, right? And so I thought about how could someone like me have like a sort of thick skin. And for me, I believe it comes down to like, yeah, learning more about yourself, building that self-confidence, which is like, this is like a category, this is confidence, and then there's like a graph, a line that branches off to like other things that make self-confidence. There's like self-love, and then there's like self-respect, maybe even like self-acceptance, I don't know. But there's like, and then those branch off to other little categories, right? It's all these little branches that build self-confidence. And I felt like when I started researching those on my own, started to really try understanding that, it really came down to like somewhere along the way, or maybe it's somewhere up here, the more that I learned about myself, the more internally comfortable I started feeling if I were to put myself in that situation again. In the situation of like, there's this rude kid or there's this bully. I don't know what it was. I don't know how to put my finger on it. But once I realized that, that was my thick skin, in my opinion. And maybe that's like not the same relation, like actual thick skin, like what we're referring to. But like for me, when I learned that, it made me feel like it would be so much easier for me now to have this conversation with this bully. For some reason, I don't know why. And if I had to like go into that further, I can kind of like break down how I would do that. Oh, you're saying I'm a computer science teacher. I'm all about the gaming references for understanding things. Yeah. It's awesome. I love meeting people who like, who are doing, I feel like, the cool things in life, but that are also gamers. Because I feel like it's kind of funny. I feel like a lot of people that I meet in my life, whether like mostly job related, I'm like, you know, okay, so for example, like I'm a real estate photographer. I meet all sorts of people like while on the job, and I'm just wondering like, wow, these guys, I don't know what they're doing to be living this kind of life, and I wish I could be, but I wonder, do they play games? So like as I'm going through their homes, like most of the time I don't see any game consoles. I usually see like some game consoles in the kids' rooms. But then I get really happy when I see like adults uh like they're also looking very professional and stuff, but like somewhere in the room there's like a PS4, and like, yes, like this guy is doing probably very important things in the world. I mean, I'm sure we all are, but like, yeah, that's cool. Like these kind of people can exist, and that makes me happy because like I want to do that. So I'm happy for you. That's awesome. Computer science teacher, and yeah, gaming references, awesome. And so, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like to break down what I was saying earlier. Actually, what time is it? I have to make a wedding. So I don't want to say randomly invited, but like I don't know this person too well. I was invited to a wedding in Final Fantasy 14 for like 2 o'clock, so I'm gonna try to like get my butt ready like around 1:30 maybe. But I'm glad this talk is going on, so I'll try to talk about what we were talking about. So for example, and you may already know this, I feel like you can relate. It's like if I were to put myself in this situation now, like let's say with a bully from the past that's greatly affected me, or even one now, I feel like I can calmly approach it because, and it comes down to communication, right? Communication, I feel like is the best. I was gonna say weapon, but it can also be like a tool or like a skill, even maybe a passive skill. It really depends on how you think about it. So like, if you were to ask this person, like, okay, maybe I should lay out a situation first. Well, I guess I kind of laid one out when it was like my friend and that girl talking. Although I can't really like, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Like if I can't really count her as a bully, but let's say she was doing that intentionally, I can kind of call that bullying, right? So let's make the assumption that that girl was playing with my friend's feelings just to fuck with him. In my eyes, that's kind of bullying. But if she did it like constantly, that would definitely be bullying. So if I were in my friend's shoes, if I were the one suffering and feeling what he was feeling, so I would choose to have that conversation with her. I would say, and like, mind you, I don't think they know each other like in person. This is like a long distance thing. So a lot of things could happen, right? She could like totally ignore me. So if I said, hey, can we talk about this? Like, I want to know why you told me that I could have been there at the mall when you know that I have feelings for you. And if you don't understand why I'm asking that, it's because like I'm hurt. Like, it hurts my feelings that you had to tell me that. And then I would ask, like, did you understand that? Like, how do you feel? And depending on her response, she could say something like, oh, well, I mean, I have the right to do this anyway. Like, I have the right to date, and I have the right to kiss anyone that I want to. And then, okay, this may be a little unfair because I am who I am now, but actually that's the whole point of this conversation. So if it were me now, then I would say something like, so what you're telling me is, oh wait, maybe I can't say that yet. I would first try to help her understand, like, yeah, okay, yes, you're right. You have every right to date anyone that you want and kiss anyone you want, sure. But now that you know that it hurts my feelings, do you see that you're hurting my feelings? Like, trying to help her understand where I'm coming from. It's kind of like it's a conversation thing where like you're both trying to stay on the same page and you're kind of helping her try to get to that point, but you're not forcing her to, because you can't do that. Like, that's her decision. So once she knows you said that and she hears that, right? Depending on her response, she could be like, actually, no, I wasn't aware. Like, I had no idea. And she could apologize for that. Or she could say something like, yeah, I knew. Yeah, I knew how you felt about me. But that still doesn't mean like I can't kiss or date anyone I want. And to better help her understand that even further, or to like, keep the conversation going, you say, so what you're telling me is, and you're kind of like reflecting what you've heard back, right? You're saying, so what you're telling me is you're okay with hurting my feelings knowing that I like you by telling me this. Is that what you're telling me? And then like it literally gets to like a yes or no question. And so if she says, oh, actually, no, I didn't think about it that way, then that branches off to like more understanding conversation, right? But if she says yes, then at that point it's like, okay, it kind of comes down to the point of like, am I the asshole? She's admitting that she's an asshole if she says yes. And I couldn't have had that conversation with her so calmly if I didn't understand what I was capable of. So I know like the conversation I just exemplified is really hard for my friend right now because he's so young and he's learning how to like communicate. So I hope like if he watches this later, I hope this helps him better understand like how he can handle something just through communication. Because it all comes down to like what you can and can't not control, what you can control, like what's within your power, and you can do that through talking. Oh, sorry, you said something. There's a nice acronym we use at school as a definition of bullying. STOP. STOP. Several times on purpose. That is amazing. I wish we had that acronym back in the day. I didn't have that. What the fuck? That is so cool. I'm gonna remember that. I don't know how to talk about that. I mean, I can find some ways I'm talking about. Like, I want to share that with people, but like, I don't want to like shove it down their throats because I feel like a lot of my friends. So I feel like some of them get really tired when I have talks like this. That's why I'm here on Twitch, because like I feel like I can talk about this freely and just chatting. And some people talk about this with me time to time, and it's amazing. So that's awesome. There's a nice acronym we use at school. Okay, I don't think it was bullying. It was just naivety. Yeah, in that particular situation, yes. I think it was naivety. Did I say that right? Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I was just like exemplifying, like if it were me in his shoes, and if that was a bullying case, like that's what I would do to handle the situation. Like to me, that was my version of having a sort of thick skin, which is probably not thick skin at all. It was just a better way of like handling things, I think. Yeah. Your speech, though, works for either situation. Yeah, I just feel like it comes down to communication, honestly. Like, I don't believe in burning bridges, and I know it's really easy to do that. So, like, I really want to encourage people to not burn bridges, but like to do their best to just keep it the way it is or was. Like, and the reason why I say that is because like I'm thinking about like love relationships, right? Like usually I feel like the general thought is like when you break up with someone, you can never talk with them again. But for me personally, like I disagree. And I used to believe that too. Like I used to believe that when you break up with someone, like that has to end. But the reason why my thought on that changed was because actually, do I have time to tell the story? And I also you said something, and yeah, it is thick skin. It's letting the hurt roll off, admitting how it felt to them, and having a yes, that makes me feel even better to actually understand that. So yay, I've developed this sort of thick skin. Awesome. Although not perfect, but like to understand that we have that ability, that passive skill, like that's amazing. That's what we saved up for our skill points, like for a long time, like that is an amazing skill to have. It's an emotional intelligence that is only earned with time. Yes. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, that is definitely something earned with time. So if it were my friend trying to understand that, and if you're watching this, friend, like I want you to understand that, yeah, actually, I told you, like, it's okay if you don't understand where I'm coming from or if what I'm saying doesn't make sense. Like, it does take time, and you will understand someday. So, like, if you feel sad, like, that's okay. Feel sad. Let yourself feel the way you want to feel. There's nothing wrong with that. I used to, like, grow up, like, blaming myself for how I felt, and I'm here to tell, like, my friend and anyone else that may watch this, like, it's okay to feel how you feel. Like there's truth in that. We have IQ for mental intelligence. EQ. Oh, EQ. I've heard something about that recently. I didn't know that was a thing. EQ is also a thing for emotional intelligence, and there are equivalent tests for it too. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm so slow in reading sometimes. I actually want to look that up because I didn't know EQ was a thing. So I don't know if I can talk about this on stream, but I've been watching a lot of Dr. K or Healthy Gamer on Twitch, and he's amazing. He's a psychiatrist that talks to other streamers on his Twitch, and then he puts those videos on YouTube. So if you're into this kind of stuff, Dr. K explains the things that I do like on a much more accurate and better level of understanding. Well, he's a psychiatrist. He's amazing. I highly recommend checking him out if you don't know about him. I think he also talks a little bit about EQ, which is amazing. Also, I forgot that story that I was just about to talk about. If you're interested in listening, and maybe like you can probably remind me, and maybe I can talk about it for like 10-15 minutes because I have to get ready for a wedding. Anywho, I need to go. Oh, okay. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate you stopping by and talking with me, Smeeze. So, yeah, have a good rest of your day. And yeah, 9 p.m. Weekend goes fast. Yes, it does. Enjoy the rest of your night, man. Yeah, take it easy. Have a good one. Okay, so to wrap things up here, I said what I wanted to say, and I'm so happy that I had this just chat. I literally cannot remember the story I was gonna tell. I kind of feel like I wanted to talk about it. Maybe I'll bring it up again next time. But yeah. So to my friend who may or may not be watching this, or to anyone else who happens to watch this, like, it's okay. It's definitely okay to feel how you feel, and the reason for that is because it's you. It's who you are. It's just that, maybe we not be able to understand why or how we're feeling the way we do. And that's where you can start. Like, it all starts with a question. Like, why am I feeling the way I do? And maybe, it's also okay to ask if it's okay to feel that way, but you can also ask, why do you feel the way you do? And then you can slowly backtrack from there to better understand where that's coming from. Where does that emotion come from? And also understanding that you are in control of what you can control, and then understanding that you can't control the things outside of you also helps with understanding your feelings. I want to say, I feel like that's the best way I can articulate what I'm thinking, because like when you can understand that, then you can also worry less about the things that are not in your control, like whether or not someone likes you, or where this relationship is gonna go. Like, you don't have to worry about those things. It all comes down to like communication, and it doesn't have to be as direct, and you don't necessarily have to have those conversations, but it also helps to understand, like if you want answers, you can ask. And it's okay if you feel like you don't have the courage or the bravery or the confidence to ask those kinds of questions, because learning how to do that also takes time. And I think that would be a topic for another time. So if anyone's curious about that, or I think I might just talk about it. If anyone's curious about like how to ask those kind of questions for yourself. Sorry, I kind of lost train of thought. And burping. Get out. Like the courage to get to the point to wanting to have a conversation is what I think I was saying. Like, I'll definitely help talk about that and help people better understand. And it basically boils down to just learning more about yourself and taking care of yourself, loving yourself more, respecting yourself more. All of that is tied to self-confidence, I feel like. And then once you start doing that for yourself, then it becomes easier for you to find that courage and that bravery to want to ask like that question, to want to like take that risk. I shouldn't say risk, but like I guess it kind of is. But thanks for stopping by, guys. That was really fun. Can't wait to do this again. I have to get ready for a wedding now, so have a nice day or have a nice night wherever you are.